Subscribe to English Hub to achieve fluent English.
How to learn 3,000 words. During the next lesson, one of the students asks our teacher, "You say that it is good to know 3,000 words. Where can I find these 3,000 words?" My teacher replies, "You can find a list of the 3,000 most frequent words in English on the internet, but it is difficult to learn new words from this list. These words are not connected with any story, and you don't learn what other words are connected with these words in sentences. This system works only for some words. These are basic words which describe things and people around us. For example, mother, father, apple, blue, orange, dog, cat, book, car, house, city, boy, girl, water, cinema, or paper. These are words that represent something you can imagine easily. For example, when you learn the word dog, you can easily imagine what it is. You have a clear idea in your head of what the word means. But when you want to learn words such as decide or opinion, this system doesn't work well. This is a problem many students face. They start their studies with lists of words, and it works at the beginning. They believe they can learn English this way, but they don't realize that once they reach the level of 1,000 words, they have to switch to a different system. If you want to learn higher level words, you need to learn them from whole sentences. If you understand the meaning of a word in the context of a sentence, you can learn it much better. You can learn words from lists, but there is usually a limit to how far you can go with this method, and that limit is around 1,000 words. Also, this method is quite slow. There are much better ways to learn, which you already know. For example, reading. For beginners, the best book to read is Robinson Crusoe in Simple English. It is a very good book for learning new words. There is also one interesting rule that is good to know. Every word that is important for you will return to your life again and again. This is very similar to the way we learn our own language when we are children. We don't study from lists of words. We just use the language, and important words come into our lives repeatedly. We learn new words this way throughout our lives. For example, the verb Google is a new word in many languages. We learned this word by using the language, not by studying lists. When you first heard the word Google, you probably didn't know what it meant. Then, you heard it again and again because the word was important to you, and over time, you understood it. So, you can forget about word lists, and instead learn new words by reading stories and other interesting texts. When you use English a lot every day, you'll soon learn 3,000 words. "Does it make sense?" asks the student. "Yes," the student replies. "Thank you." After school, I go to work. I already know my job very well, and things start to feel automatic. I am happy that I understand my customers. It's not very difficult, because the conversations are usually similar. Our customers want coffee or sandwiches, so the words are often the same or very similar. My confidence increases, and sometimes I have longer conversations with customers. It's all going well, but then something happens that shocks me. When you learn a new word, learn it as part of a whole sentence. How to improve your accent. On Tuesday, while at work, something interesting happens. 2 customers come into our cafe. They are a husband and wife. The man starts speaking to me. I know he's speaking English, but I don't understand him. I think he's asking for something we don't have, so I call my boss. She speaks with the man and sells him 2 coffees and 2 sandwiches. I'm surprised. After they leave, I apologize to my boss for not understanding the man. She says it's okay and explains that this can happen when people speak with an accent that is new to us. She tells me the couple was from Scotland. The next day at school, I tell this story to my teacher. I explain that I felt stupid when I didn't understand the customer. Although my boss was okay with it, I still needed help from my teacher. I wanted to know what I could do in these situations. My teacher says, I understand. You are used to English spoken in London, but the Scottish accent is new to you. Your ears aren't trained for the Scottish accent yet. You need to listen more to Scottish English to train your ears for this accent. What happened to you can happen to anyone. When you already speak English at a certain level and go to a place where people speak with a different accent, it's normal that you don't understand them right away. It's okay, and it usually takes about 2 weeks before you start understanding a new accent. Don't think there's something wrong with you just because you don't understand a new accent immediately. With practice, you can train your ears to understand. So what can I do to understand the Scottish accent, I ask. I don't live in Scotland. Our teacher suggests you can watch films or sitcoms from Scotland. With time, you'll begin to understand. I thank her, and after school, I return to work. Around 4 o'clock, 2 interesting customers come into the cafe. They are not from Scotland, but are clearly foreigners. Their English is very basic. My boss serves them, and when she realizes they don't speak English well, she does something very interesting. She simplifies her language, using only short, simple sentences of 3 or 4 words. I notice that the customers understand her. They buy 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches, and 2 cakes. Both the customers and my boss are happy. When they leave, I tell my boss how nice it was that she adjusted her English for the customers. She replies, Sometimes I have to use very simple English. It doesn't matter whether the customers speak English well or not. They are our customers, and we must do everything we can to make them feel comfortable. If they feel understood here, they'll come to our cafe every day. I think my boss is a good businesswoman. She does everything she can to make our customers happy. It's true that our cafe is always busy. To understand people with a particular accent, listen to audio in that accent for a while. The next day at school, I tell my teacher about my experience with my boss and the 2 ladies who didn't speak English well. My teacher says, Great! Your boss must be very clever. It's true that you can communicate with everyone, even people who are just beginning to learn English. Today, she continues, we'll discuss different levels of English and what you can do at each level. Let's start with the lowest level of 1,000 words. At this level, students can talk about basic things from everyday life. Their speaking is limited, but it's already possible to communicate slowly for a short time with people who are patient. Your sentences are short, usually about 4 words. If others also use short sentences, you can have basic conversations. When students move to a higher level of 2,000 words, conversations become easier, and sentences are longer. This is the level you're at now. You can talk about many aspects of your life, your family, hobbies, job, and travel. Occasionally, you might struggle with deeper conversations on specific topics. but this level is generally sufficient for everyday communication. However, if you want to engage in deeper conversations on various subjects, it's good to know 3,000 words. That's a great goal for English learners. Of course, you can learn more than 3,000 words. With more words, it becomes easier to communicate in English. But 3,000 words is usually enough to talk about almost anything in English. I think the two ladies at your cafe knew about 1,000 words, and your boss met them at their level and had a basic conversation with them. After school, I return to work. The two ladies come back to our cafe, this time with two friends. It's my turn to serve them. I speak to them in simple, short sentences, and they understand me. It feels great. They tell me they're tourists from Japan and that they like our cafe because people here understand them. When you want to communicate effectively in English, aim to learn 3,000 words. What to do when you're shy? On Thursday, I go to school again. One student has a very interesting question. She says, "I am very shy when I have to speak English. Can you help me? I don't want to be so shy." Our teacher says, "It is true that when we use foreign languages, it is natural to feel shy. We are doing something we don't know perfectly, and the possibility of making a mistake is very high." I was also very shy when I learned foreign languages. I remember well how afraid I was to make mistakes. When I made a mistake, I felt stupid, and sometimes my face turned red. Now, it's different. I use languages for communication, and I only care about communication. You know that I am learning Spanish these days. Sometimes I make mistakes, but they don't stop me from using Spanish. It's true that sometimes I still feel shy when I have to speak Spanish, and my face might turn red, but I don't care much about it anymore. It's a natural human feeling, and it only lasts for a short moment. I continue using Spanish because I know that only by using it can I get better. I also try to see things as they are. I am a student, and I'm on the way to speaking good Spanish. It is not possible to jump several levels in one day. A beginner can't become a perfect speaker in 1 hour. I also see the value I bring to the people around me when I speak some Spanish. You already have value because you speak some English. You can have conversations with others in English, and that's great. Look at what you already know. You know 2,000 words. You have already gone from 0 to 2,000 words, so be happy about it. Some students feel that to know English means being able to speak like a native speaker, with perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar, and no mistakes. They think that if they aren't doing that, they don't know English, and they feel shy because they are not perfect. These students are too hard on themselves, and it's not necessary. You are great because you already speak some English. Continue working on it, and your shyness will slowly disappear. I like what our teacher told us. I am also sometimes shy. I know I need to practice speaking a lot, but in some situations, I don't want to look stupid, so I don't speak as much as I could. I decide to be braver in these situations and use them to practice more. Then one student says, "Sometimes I want to say something, but I don't know the word I want to use. Then I stop, and I don't know what to do. In this situation, I feel very stupid. The next time I can speak English, I don't want to because I don't want to feel stupid again. Can you help me with this?" Our teacher says, When you start speaking English, you must prepare for moments when you don't know the word you want to say. In such situations, you need to learn how to describe the word. This ability is very important when learning a new language. You need to train how to express ideas with the vocabulary you already have. For example, if you don't know how to say the word key, you can describe it as a small thing for opening a door. You describe words in your native language too, but you usually don't notice it. If you don't know the word for something, you simply describe it so that the other person understands what you mean. You can do the same thing in English, but you need to practice this ability. Thinking aloud is a very good technique to use when you want to improve your ability to describe things. Use thinking aloud every day, and your ability will get better. You can only learn English by using it. It's okay to be shy, but don't let it stop you from using English. Who is talented? The next day is Friday, and I go to school again. I am happy to go to this class, not only because we have a great teacher, but also because there are students from many different countries. In our class, some students are from Europe, some from South America, and there is one student from Japan and one from South Korea. This is good for me because the students don't speak my native language. When I speak to them, I have to use only English, which is great practice. Today we have a new student in our class. Her name is Sophia, and she is from Argentina. At the beginning of the lesson, Sophia says she thinks she doesn't have a talent for studying languages, but she wants to work hard to get better. Our teacher asks her, "Why do you think you don't have a talent?" Sophia answers, "I think I don't have a talent because my sister learns English very fast, but for me, it is difficult." Then our teacher asks the class, "Do you think you have a talent for learning languages?" Please raise your hand if you believe you have a talent. I look around, and nobody raises their hand. Our teacher smiles and says, "Now I want to tell you something. Many people think you need to have a talent if you want to learn a new language. I agree. Yes, you need talent, but I also believe that you already have a talent for learning languages. Why? Because you already learned one language, your native language. You were successful at learning your native language, and you speak it fluently. All people who have learned their native language have a talent for learning languages. Why do many students believe they are not talented? The reason is this: there are people who are super talented. Yes, it's true. These super talented people remember new words very fast and for a long time. Maybe you know such people. Maybe it's someone at your work or in your family. There aren't many of these people, but they exist. I believe Sophia's sister might be one of them. For these people, learning a new language is fun, and they can do it easily. Sophia says, "It's true. My sister is better at learning languages than everyone else." Our teacher continues, "Yes, these super talented people exist. It's a fact, and we can't change it. But that's not the problem. The problem is that we compare ourselves to these people, and if we don't learn as fast as they do, we think we aren't talented. I want to ask you one thing. Please don't compare yourself to these super talented people. Yes, they are lucky, and they have an advantage, but you are lucky too. Maybe you are super talented in other things, like singing, swimming, playing tennis, cooking, or repairing cars. People are not all the same, and that's the beauty of this world. Now, You can believe that you are also talented. Maybe not super talented, but talented enough. When you believe this, learning English will be easier for you. These words from our teacher are very helpful. I know I am talented at playing football and tennis. Now I know that I am also talented at learning English. That's great. And what's also great is that there is a school party in the evening. I am really looking forward to this party. I know some girls from our class are going, and I hope our new student Sophia is going too. I've only known Sophia for a day, but I already like her a lot. If you can speak your native language, then you have a talent for learning English. How to speak fluently. On Monday, I go to school again. Our teacher asks us about the party on Friday. One student says the party was great, and we had a lot of drinks and fun. The girls from our class liked the party too. I also liked it a lot because Sophia was there. I got to talk to her, and we danced together. It was very nice. 2 boys from my football team were also at the party. They are from Brazil, and their English is basic. They can only speak in short sentences, but they were very funny at the party. They made a lot of jokes about life in England, about other players from our team, and about girls from their class. Their sentences were very short, with only 3 or 4 words, but they were able to speak fluently. When we spoke about the party, I told my teacher, "It was really interesting to see that somebody who doesn't know many words can already speak fluently. I know some students who are at a much higher level, and they can't speak fluently." My teacher said, "The 2 boys from your football team showed you the right way. The boys used what they knew and cared only about what was really important: communication." Then one girl asked, "So what can we do if we want to speak English fluently?" "Go to parties and make jokes." My teacher said, "First, let me explain what fluent speaking is." Many students think that fluent speaking is fast speaking with a lot of words and perfect grammar, but there is a better, more correct definition of fluent speaking. Fluent speaking is speaking without long pauses. Some people can do it with 1,000 words, some with 2,000, but there are also people who know 3,000 words and aren't able to speak fluently. If you want to speak fluently, you have to practice speaking. There is no other way to improve your fluency. Speaking is a physical activity. It's like playing a musical instrument. If you want to play the violin, you need to train the connection between your brain and the muscles in your fingers. Similarly, if you want to speak well, you need to train the connection between your brain and the muscles in your mouth. Some students have had an interesting experience, and maybe you have too. You meet a foreigner who wants to speak with you in English. You want to express the ideas that are in your head, but you aren't able to do it. You can't find the right words. But if you want to pay for your education, a good teacher can help you learn faster. If you want to know if your school is good before the first lesson of the course, go to website testlanguages.com. There you can find out how many words you know. After 5 lessons at the new school, do the test again, and you can see how many new words you've learned. If you're happy with your progress, you can continue paying for lessons. It's also important that you enjoy every lesson and look forward to the next one. Enjoying each activity you do with English is key. I also offer private lessons via Skype, so if you're interested and can't find a good school in your town, you can contact me. "This is great," said the student. I want to have private lessons with you via Skype." This was great news for me, too. I didn't know it was possible to have a private lesson with my teacher. Soon, I'm also going back to my country, and I want to have private lessons with my teacher as well. When you go to school, you have to see your progress and enjoy every lesson. The next day, Monica had a question for my teacher. She asked, "How do you know all of this? Where did you learn all this information about studying languages?" Our teacher said, "There are many ways I get information about learning languages. The first is through experience. I started teaching 7 years ago, so I have many years of experience. When I teach, I observe what works and what doesn't, and then I use only the things that help. I also study materials about language learning on the internet. When I find something interesting, I test it in one of my classes. If it works, I use it in all my other classes. I also have a good friend who is a teacher, and we often discuss the best ways to learn languages. Sometimes she gives me good tips for my classes. There's also another way I get information, which is during moments when I have a question but can't find the answer. In those moments, I go to my magic park, and I get the answer there." Monica was intrigued. "This is interesting. How do you get answers in the magic park? Where is the magic park? Can we go there too?" Our teacher replied, "What I'm about to say might not seem real to everyone, and it might sound crazy, but you asked for it, so I'm giving you the answer. I believe that if you have a question and you ask the universe for an answer, the answer will come. When I have a question, I go to the magic park, sit on a bench, relax my body, breathe slowly, and try to stop thinking. Then I ask the question. Sometimes the answer comes as a new idea in my head. Sometimes someone I meet later says something that helps me find the answer. Other times I watch an interesting video on the internet and find the answer there. Sometimes the answer comes the next morning when I wake up. The interesting thing is that the answers usually come. I am very happy when they do. As I said, you don't have to believe what I'm telling you, but this is what I do and how it works for me. The park is not far from here," she added. "It's a 10-minute walk and a lot of people go there to relax. It's beautiful and has a very nice atmosphere. I call it a magic park because it's magical for me." Our teacher's words were fascinating. I didn't know that people could ask the universe for answers. Maybe in the future, when I have an interesting question, I'll go to the park and ask for an answer. The next day, another girl asked, "Thank you for all the information you've given us about learning English. Can you give us a summary? Can you give us some rules we can follow every day to learn English well?" Our teacher said, "Okay, I can give you a simple summary. If you want to speak English well, you need to do 3 things. Read, listen, and speak. You already know this information, but what's important is that you do all 3 activities in equal amounts. If you neglect one, your progress won't be as good." From my experience, I can say that it's important to use English every day for 90 minutes. You don't have to study intensely, but it's good to use English actively. Now, let me explain each activity in more detail. Let's start with reading. It's good to read for 30 minutes every day. This is the minimum. Don't read to study English. Read to gain new information or enjoy an interesting story. I know I repeat this information often, but it's really important. Next, listen to English for 30 minutes every day. Start with simple audiobooks or news, and as you improve, gradually move to higher levels of books and news. When you know around 2,000 words, you can start watching films and videos on the internet. Finally, there's speaking. You already know how important it is to speak when learning English. Speak for 30 minutes every day. The best option is to talk to real people, your teacher, colleagues, or friends. Try to find someone at your level of English or a little better and practice with them. But if you don't have anyone to speak with, you can use shadowing or thinking aloud. These techniques will give you plenty of speaking practice every day. I use these methods often when learning Spanish. I don't have native Spanish speakers in my life, so I rely on these techniques to improve my skills. As you can see, learning English is simple. All you have to do is read, listen, and speak. That's it. "Thank you," said the girl. "This is great information. You're the best." I was also very happy the girl asked this question because it was my last day at school, and I needed a summary of what I could do in the future. Over the 4 weeks I spent with my teacher, I learned a lot and improved my English significantly. My teacher knew it was my last day, so she asked if I wanted to say something to the class. I said, "I've been very happy studying in this class. I've met a lot of nice people. I gave everyone my email address and told them they could contact me if they wanted to. Then I said goodbye to everyone. I felt a little sad, but I knew I had to continue with my life." It's now been 1 year since my last day at school. Over the past year, I've used English every day and applied the techniques my teacher taught me. Now I know 4,000 words in English, which is great progress. I've also started a new job, teaching English to beginners. My students know only about 500 words, which is perfect for me because I know I need a lot of practice as a teacher before I can teach at higher levels. One of the greatest advantages in my new job is that I had a fantastic teacher in London. I learned so much from her, and now I'm trying to pass on everything I learned to my students. I want them to be successful, just like I was. So, when you want to learn English, remember the simple rules. Read, listen, and speak. Do each activity for 30 minutes every day, and you will see progress. Remember, the key to mastering English is consistency. Read, listen, and speak every day. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips.